Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a mystery that took nearly 40 years to solve. It's an incredible story about science, pure persistence, and a family finally getting the answers they'd waited a lifetime for. So what does it really take to give someone their name back after they've been lost to time? We're going to explore that through the absolutely compelling story of a young man who, for decades, was known only as Points John Doe. Just look at this timeline. It's staggering. A teenager disappears, and for almost 4 decades, nothing. His family is left wondering, hoping, with absolutely no idea what happened to him. That passage of time is it's at the very heart of this case. Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story really begins on April 5th, 1988. We're in a remote desert wash out in Tucson, Arizona, where a pretty grim discovery is made. And right here, the first chapter of this long mystery starts to unfold. Right away, investigators knew they were dealing with a homicide. They could tell the remains belonged to a teenage boy, probably about 17 or 18 years old, and that he'd likely been killed a year or two before he was found. But that's all they had. No ID, no leads, nothing. And so the trail went ice cold, and he became a ghost, just a file number in a cabinet for decades. So we flash forward a few decades. The case is colder than cold. And that's when it lands on the desk of the DNA Doe Project. They're this amazing nonprofit group of volunteer genealogists, and they use a revolutionary tool to solve cases that nobody else can. So what is this technology exactly? Well, to put it simply, think of it like this. It's basically building a family tree, but for a complete stranger. Scientists get a DNA profile from the remains, they upload it to public databases. And then, these incredibly skilled researchers start tracing distant relatives to work their way back to the person's name. But here's the thing. They hit a major roadblock right out of the gate. The DNA showed the boy had roots in Mexico, but there were no close family matches in any of the databases. And that meant no quick answers. This wasn't going to be an easy win. They were going to have to dig much deeper into his family's past. So you gotta ask, how on earth do you build an entire family history from scratch for someone you know nothing about? Well, for the team at the DNA Doe Project, it meant going back, way back. The team leader, Lance Daly, put it perfectly. They saw these faint genetic signals pointing to Sonora, Mexico. So they started there, and then they began following the trail of migration, looking for any branches of the family that eventually made their way back to Tucson, where the boy was found. In this just shows you the incredible detective work these volunteers were doing. For 5 straight months, they were piecing together this giant puzzle, using historical records from 2 different countries, all to build a family tree for a boy they never even met. So after all of that high-tech DNA work, all of that digging through dusty old records, you'll never guess where the big breakthrough came from. It wasn't from a computer or an algorithm. It was a simple human conversation. Okay, so here's the moment. They've built this tree out far enough that they've found a name, a living person who might be a relative. They pick up the phone, hoping this person holds the key to the whole mystery. But get this. The relative says, "No, I don't know anyone who's missing." And you can just imagine the team's heart sinking, right? All that work for a dead end. But then she says something that changes everything. She promised to ask the older members of her family. And that one promise, that one single question asked of a family elder, that was it. That was the tea. As the team co-leader Emily Bill said, it all came down to that. That question unlocked a memory that had been buried for decades, the memory of a cousin who had just vanished, way back in 1986. And with that one dormant memory sparked by one crucial question, the entire case just cracked wide open. After almost 4 decades as a ghost in a system, the 17-year-old boy from Tucson finally had his name back. He was Rogelio Morales Caudillo. And suddenly, everything just clicked into place. You had the advanced science pointing straight to Rogelio. You had the family's memory confirming he disappeared in 1986, which lined up perfectly. And then the Pima County Sheriff's Department got a final DNA test. It was a conclusive match. The John Doe case was officially closed. But, this is the question that's left hanging in the air. Giving him his name back is really just the first step, isn't it? The investigation into an unknown victim is over. But now, the homicide investigation for Rogelio Morales Caudillo can truly begin. For his family, the journey to find out who killed him is just getting started.